Hello and welcome back, everybody. This is Lord Papa Lunacy with Legendary Lunacy. I'm your host, as always. I'm also alone again. Shadow Man Randy is in the shadows, as we would say. I've got another short one for you today, another creepypasta. Also, for future reference, Shadow Man Randy has also recorded some creepypastas as well. And if you enjoy these creepypastas, we'll put them up on the channel. We're definitely going to put his up there too, because he's already got them recorded and ready to go. If you don't enjoy the creepypastas, well, kind of tough titties because it's our channel. We can do whatever we want. So we're going to go ahead and post the creepypastas because we enjoy storytelling. Also, keep in mind, next weekend we've got the weekend of the 22nd, my birthday weekend. We'll be filming some stuff at a campsite, so enjoy. It's another short one for you, Mr. Smile by Alice Thompson. Without further ado, we'll get started. Mr. Smile, written by Alice Thompson. It was early November of 1997 that a series of very strange sessions led a child psychologist in Maine to contact the authorities. It began when a patient of his began to tell him about one of their friends. This friend being imaginary as far as both the psychiatrist and the boy's parents were concerned. He called his friend Mr. Smile and would talk about him at great length during some sessions. The boy called him Mr. Smile both because he would always be smiling and because, well, when he was around, the boy said everything felt happy. He said that there was a feeling of everything being okay. The boy in question was being treated for serious issues to do with anger and depression, but when Mr. Smile was around, he said that all that anger and sadness seemed to just disappear. He said that Mr. Smile wouldn't speak, but rather just stand there, at the foot of his bed. He smelled like candy floss, and just by being there, he made the boy feel calm and safe. The psychiatrist assumed this imaginary friend was some sort of coping mechanism, and the boy had developed to deal with the problems at home that had led to his violent temper and thought nothing much of it. Until another patient, a girl about 9 years old, also began talking about her imaginary friend, Mr. Smile. And then a boy of 7. And then a boy of 12. And then a girl of 11. All in all, close to 15 separate patients all began to talk about him, about Mr. Smile. The first few he had put down to coincidence. After all, many children have imaginary friends, and the name and description of Mr. Smile were just generic enough that it didn't concern him too much at first. But as more and more of his patients told him about Mr. Smile, he began to grow concerned. He asked for more details. Every single one of them described him the same way, using the exact same words. Now, there was no way that all of these children could be in contact with each other. 5 of them, for instance, were currently being homeschooled, and according to their parents, whenever he spoke to them, he never really left the house. They were currently being homeschooled, and according to their parents, when he spoke to them, they never really left the house, except for when it was to be accompanying them on shopping trips and the like. There was no way that every single one of these kids could have rehearsed or prepared the statements together, which led him to a deeply disturbing conclusion. He spoke privately with each of the children's parents one at a time. He avoided disclosing too much information, but he told them that something troubling had cropped up in multiple sessions with various patients, and that he believed that there was a chance their child was at risk. He asked for their permission to discuss matters with the authorities, and the parents gave their consent, provided they were kept in the loop about what was going on. And so, over the course of the next week, the police came and talked to the children about their friend. They asked for details about his appearance, which they couldn't seem to describe apart from the smile, that he was not like them. How he got into their house, anything he said or did while he was there. Because by this point, the psychiatrist, the parents, and the police were all convinced that Mr. Smile was quite real and quite dangerous. The authorities had checked to make sure that there was no known predators living in the area, which they had confirmed was not the case. But it was quite clear that whoever this Mr. Smile was, he was a real person who had been sneaking into the homes of these children at night. None of the children claimed to know how he got in. They said that they would just wake up and he'd be there at the foot of their bed. Sometimes they said he'd be singing something, but not in English. It sounded like a lullaby, they said. It made them feel safe. And finally, the children were asked to draw Mr. Smile, as they couldn't put into words how he looked. Each and every one of the children picked up a red crayon and proceeded to color the entire page until it was just a rectangle of red. When asked about this, they insisted that they had drawn Mr. Smile. When asked where his head, arms, and legs were, they would insist that they had drawn those. They claimed that they had drawn a perfect picture of the man at the foot of their bed, and they were told that they had simply colored in the page and not drawn anything at all. And when they were told that they had not drawn anything and just colored in the page, they became deeply angry, feeling that they were being accused of lying and insisting that what they had drawn was a picture of the man they had seen. Acting more on hunch than anything else, the psychiatrist decided to show one of the colors, colored in rectangles, to the various children and ask them what it was. Each and every one of them, with no knowledge of what the picture was supposed to be or who had drawn it, and with no knowledge that the other children had been spoken to about the subject even existed, replied that this was a picture of Mr. Smile. Cameras and baby monitors were placed in the children's rooms so that they could be monitored. Many of the parents simply stopped sleeping altogether, staying up all night staring at the screens that displayed where their children slept. At no point did anyone enter the house or exit the bedrooms. No sounds except for them snoring and the occasionally talking in their sleep were heard over the baby monitors. There was no sign of Mr. Smile. After almost 2 weeks of this, many of them began to doubt that Mr. Smile had ever existed. Other psychiatrists since had put the whole thing down to some strange shared delusion that, while it couldn't be explained, yet did not have any basis in reality. Some suggested that maybe the whole Mr. Smile thing had its basis in a TV show, or a film that the children had watched leading up to them dreaming up something similar. And then one of the boys went missing. The camera in his room had gone dead around 2 a.m. His mother had run to check in on him, only to find the room empty. It had literally taken her less than a minute to run to his room. There was no possible way for him to leave, or be taken, and be out of her sight in the time it took her to leave her bedroom and run towards his. But he was gone. And she said there was a smell, like cotton candy in the room. The search for the boy turned up nothing. No one had seen anything strange or unusual around the home, before or during the disappearance, and no trace of him was ever found. It was less than a week later that one of the girls who had spoken to Mr. Smile vanished as well. And then another. And then another of the boys. One by one, each of them began to disappear until only 4 remained. 4 remaining children began to talk about how Mr. Smile and his friends were going to take them away soon. When asked about these friends, they talked about how Mr. Smile lived with the other smiling men in the happy place, and that he would take them there soon. They said there were lots of people that were already in that happy place, and everything was beautiful. They said that they knew about it because Mr. Smile talked to them in their heads, because he couldn't talk like the other people did, and that he would show them pictures in their heads of the places they were going. And things began to get increasingly disturbing. After a few weeks, the children began complaining of headaches and nausea. Their schools reported that they had begun to suffer hallucinations. 2 of them started complaining that they didn't like the place that Mr. Smile was showing them anymore. One began screaming for half an hour, acting as if they were having a fit, and then screaming for the colors to stop. That the colors were horrible, and they needed them to go away. One of the children claimed that Mr. Smile was talking to them in their head all the time now, and he was telling them things. Terrible things. But that they couldn't talk about it. That they mustn't, because then their parents would know about the terrible things too. The psychiatrist asked them to write down what Mr. Smile was saying, promising that he would show it to no one. Managing to gain their trust of one of the boys enough that he agreed. The contents of the books are known only to him and the authorities, but whenever anyone involved has been asked about it, they just get real quiet and quickly find an excuse to change the subject. The children stopped sleeping. Footage from the security cameras showed that them sitting bolt upright, their eyes unblinking, just staring at the wall without moving or making a sound. Sedatives did nothing. One of the girls began cutting strange circular marks into her skin, while the 2 boys ceased communicating in English altogether. The language they spoke was never identified, and despite numerous people being asked to listen to them, they could not translate what was being said, what they were saying. And by the start of 1999, all 4 of the children had vanished into thin air. There was no trace of what took them. Searches have turned up nothing to this day, with no indication of where they or if they're even dead or alive. No suspect has ever been found either. All 4 of them appeared to simply vanish into thin air, much like the others, all of whom remain missing. Their disappearance is unexplained. Written by Alice Thompson. I don't think I ever heard that one before. That one's a pretty decent little story. It's weird. I was worried it was gonna be one of those really outlandish ones where it's like, I don't know. My brain is going to Jeff the Killer again, but I really enjoyed that story. It's creepy, big ol' skelly, spooky wookie. Alright, well, thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned if you like these creepypastas. Give us a like, comment down below your favorite creepypasta. Maybe we'll read that next time. Until next time, sit back, relax, and enjoy the darkness around you. Love you guys.